Welcome back to This Week in Auburn Sports. I'm Plainsman Sports Editor Eric Wallace, joined by Assistant Sports Editor David McKinney. We're back after a week off. We had some technical difficulties last weekend. Unfortunately, we weren't able to post the video. But we're back, and, well, David, we sure got a lot to talk about. We'll start off with the video board, which just literally minutes ago was approved by the Auburn Board of Trustees. So it looks like Jordan-Hare Stadium will officially have the biggest video board in all of college football. It's a pretty cool moment for Auburn.
Yeah, it's going to be about, I believe, 200 feet wide. It's going to cost just about $14 million, but it's going to be a big upgrade for them, and I think it's going to bring a lot of attraction to the stadium and the football program.
It'll look better. I'm a little bit surprised it wasn't on the other end. I've always felt like they needed to replace the smaller scoreboard. That thing is way older. But apparently there were some technical difficulties with the existing scoreboard. They didn't have the parts to replace it. At least that's what I had read. But I mean, it's cool for Auburn. That's definitely going to increase their prestige. Recruits are going to want to play in front of that board for sure.
I think it's a start. It's a big start, but I think you can probably expect some more proposed improvements to the stadium in the future.
I think so. I talked to Jay Jacobs last year, and he mentioned how they wanted to increase the experience at the stadium, not so much the size, but they just wanted it to be a really cool environment, with up-to-date technology. So it'll be interesting to see what they decide to add. Moving on to other events in the football world. National Signing Day was this week on Wednesday. Auburn had a pretty big day, pretty historic day, actually, when they landed the number one overall recruit, Byron Cowart. It wasn't, he committed at 8 a.m. that morning, but it wasn't all fun and games for Auburn. It took him a little while to get there, and the hashtag was what? Cowart Watch 2015?
Cowart Watch 2015.
Yeah, because nobody knew where his fax was, and it's an interesting story, but I think at the end of the day, Auburn has to be pleased with the class they brought in. They met a lot of their needs on the defensive end of the ball, and we really got to see what T-Rob and Will Muschamp can do in recruiting.
Yeah, it was a big day for them. I think one thing to focus on is kind of the flips that Muschamp and staff were able to pull off. Specifically Cowart was a big one, but Darius Slayton, wide receiver who flipped from Georgia the night before signing day, that was a big one. Real speedster, runs about a 4.40, I believe.
Yeah, he's athletic.
I think another player to watch out of this class is going to be Prince Tega Wanagho Jr.
Yeah, it's close.
He four-star defensive end. Obviously, Cowart's the big D end out of this class, but I think Prince Tega is going to be, he's a project. He's only played football for about one season, but I think he's a big get for this class.
I mean, he's literally a big get. He's 6'8", so I mean, he's going to be knocking down passes at the line. You got to think. Obviously they got to clean him up a little bit, make him a polished player, but he's an interesting addition to the Tigers class. And you mentioned how much success Muschamp and them had. They flipped a lot of players, and they also were able to win a lot of recruiting battles with Florida. And theoretically, they could still land CeCe Jefferson at the end of this thing.
Yeah, CeCe Jefferson, as of right now, his letter of intent has not been sent in. There's a lot of speculation on what's going on with him and his family. He tweeted a couple things last night about how he's still 100% a Gator, but that's yet to be seen.
Yeah, we've heard that his parents don't exactly like what's been happening at Florida, the high coach turnover. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up, because I know he had talked to Cowart about doing a package deal, and them all playing at the same school. Moving away from football, we'll move to basketball now, where the Tigers picked up their first road win of the season last night. A huge win on the road at LSU, totally unexpected as far as I'm concerned. That was not a good matchup for Auburn, yet they managed to pull out a win. KT Harrell had another great game. Antoine Mason got it going for about the first time in conference play. And Simeon Bowers had yet another double-double. So, I mean, a huge win for Auburn.
Yeah, that's a big win on the road. I mean, they struggle to score 80 points at home, and they're great at home, and they get 81 points and the win last night at LSU, a 16-6 team who a lot of people see as a tournament team, including Bruce Pearl.
Absolutely, yeah.
Big performance from the big three. It really was nice to see Antoine Mason step up in a game and get some clutch shots there at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. He hadn't. I don't think he had quite scored 20 points in SEC play yet, and so coming from the nation's leading returning scorer last year, that's could be a good game for his confidence. Moving to softball, the Tigers had their first game of the season last night. David was on hand for that. It was an interesting first inning of play, David. What all happened?
Yeah, well, prior to the season, there's a lot of talk about how this team really believes that they can make it to Oklahoma City for the World Series, and they step out last night. Obviously the starting lineup, fresh lineup. Number one pitcher Lexi Davis steps out, and they give up 4 runs in in the first inning. And then they stepped to the plate and answered with 10 runs of their own in an inning, in a first inning that lasted just about 57 minutes.
Yeah, crazy.
So, and from there, the Tigers put up 5 more runs, including a grand slam from Emily Carasone. Lexi Davis, the pitcher, said that she thinks they have one of the best offenses in the country, and she spoke about how, if in other times she goes out and lets up runs, she feels comfortable that her offense can give her the run support that she needs, and that was evident last night against Troy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you saw last year they hit so many home runs, and that was in year 1 of Clint Myers' regime. So you got to think that they're going to get better in the second season. So yeah, big things are happening on the diamond. They've got a number of games. I think it's 4 games this weekend that are at home. So they're kicking off their season and getting moving. Moving into less successful programs on the Auburn campus, the Auburn women's basketball team lost their 11th consecutive game last night. They are now 0-10 in SEC play. And, it seems like Coach Flo and company are just having a hard time finding answers. There's not really anything going right for them.
I think sort of the turning point for them was they were 9-2 going into a game against their final non-conference game against Hampton.
Yeah.
And they lost that game, and they moved to 9-3, and 11 games later they're 9-14.
Yeah.
And obviously we've talked about this before. The loss of Tyrese Tanner was big, and that's obviously weighing on this team. They're just they don't have that they don't have that one key player that they can look to and say, do whatever you can to get a basket. I think that's just missing for them this year.
Absolutely, and it's unfortunate because they talked a lot this year about trying to make up for the loss of Tyrese, and it just hasn't happened in any way really. So we'll see if they can get back on track. They'll take on Missouri next on February 8th. Gymnastics also has a home or an away meet. They'll try to break that 100-match losing streak. I think it's like 107 actually. 107 straight matches lost to Alabama tonight against the Tide. I mean, the Tide are one of the best programs in the nation, but we'll see if they can get back on track in that one.
It's quite the streak.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. But, Jeff Crapa's got them. They're better than they really have ever been in program history, so we'll see. Other than that, we haven't got anything else to add. Make sure you pick up a print edition if you're on campus this week. We got a full list of all of Auburn's commits, except CeCe Jefferson. We'll see where he ends up. But other than that, make sure you pick up the Plainsman if you get the chance. We'll see you next week.